Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review For All Mankind, and we're in Season 4 of this Apple TV Plus sci-fi series, as we're in alternative early 2000s, and Al Gore is president, and we're on Mars! And there's a Mars colony of both the US and Russia, and you have some of our favorite characters like Ed Baldwin, Joel Kinnaman, looking older, a lot of makeup and facial hair, and they have this mission of capturing this asteroid that's this long processing arc that goes through this season. And what's interesting, I think the most interesting thing about this new season is Toby Kebbell being introduced as this like every guy, and who winds up getting a job up there, trying to support his family desperately and taking this job that he did not want but needs. And this season tackling that classism. Because that's the thing, a lot of this is like, these are astronauts, these are politicians, these are NASA people. What about just like custodial people and just normal, regular people that have normal jobs? And I appreciate how this season tackled those elements and really put a highlight on, no matter like where you go, there's always going to be the human element and the struggle of the human existence inside an economy. And I appreciated that angle of this. I think where the show takes Ed, he's aging, he still wants to be a hero. He brings his family, tries to bring his family up, like Kelly and his grandson, up to the Mars station because there's such a disconnect in between him and his family. You have the fallout of like Dev and that whole entire company. You have the fallout of Margot, played by Ren Schmidt, and her treason and shifting over to the Soviet Union, and how that all brings things back into this season and causes a lot of complications. You have the addition of Daniel Stern, who love Daniel Stern, and he's like this new head of NASA, and he brings some interesting elements to this series. But it's really still the conflict of Daniel Poole and Ed Baldwin and their complex relationship that bring a lot of layers to the season. This season is very reflective of my feeling of the series in general, which is like, season starts, good first episode, and then I'm just like, why do I find myself so interested in watching this show? I'm like, it's fine, it does some interesting things, it has a lot of characters, it's balancing a lot of things. And then the season keeps going on, keeps getting better and better and better, and I'm like, this gets me every season, and by the end, the finale is something really impactful. And I think it's important, like the first and last episode of each of these seasons, what it does with some of its legacy characters and the emotional connection that we have and how the show utilizes that and hits for impact. And there's definitely that in this season. I think it's interesting complexity of being up on Mars, having this Mars colony and everything. This is really getting into the science fiction part of all this, as we certainly have not reached that point. And like any season, it ends on a projection of where this is going and where this season starts and where this ends and projects more 10 years into the future. It's quite fascinating. And I appreciated what they did with a lot of the returning characters. It's still, I feel like, an overstuffed show, and it's still trying to balance a lot of characters and a lot of elements. We've lost a lot of characters over the course of time. There's some that just aren't really a factor in the show anymore, which I think is natural when you're jumping decades and decades after every season. But by the end, it still is firing with a lot of complex and interesting dynamics and this growing tension between the US and Russia and the other planetary and celestial elements of like this asteroid and Mars. I think this season does a lot of great things, and it's still an interesting and engrossing show, and I look forward to where they take us with Season 5. But those are my thoughts on For All Mankind Season 4. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.